everyone. I'm going to start it off with some of the most famous politicians. One famous politician is Warren J. Harding. He started his presidency back in 1921. Harding had multiple scandals during his presidency. One of the largest scandals occurred just a few years ago in Wyoming. He appointed Albert Fall, who had been taking bribes from oil tycoons. Fall's consequence only resulted in a year in prison. However, Harding lowered taxes and reduced the national debt. Another famous politician is Calvin Coolidge. He started his presidency a little while ago in 1923. Americans did not trust the government because of Harding and his multiple scandals. Coolidge proposed the Immigration Act of 1924 so that only a certain amount of immigrants were allowed into the U.S. each year. We liked Coolidge and admired him, but our opinions changed because of the Great Depression, which started just recently. Finally, Herbert Hoover just started his presidency in 1929. Hoover introduced the progressive era ideas in the business community and provided government support in different areas such as international trade. I feel that this time period is an era of Republican leadership, nationalistic and fundamentalist movements, and changing social conventions. Up next is some information on America's economics. To start, Republican presidents are being elected by the American people. The Republican presidents favor business expansion over regulating businesses. The economy right now is a mass consumption economy. It delivers many products to investors, and it raises the living conditions of the middle class and working class. About less than 1% of Americans, which were the wealthy people, own stocks. Therefore, the returns in stock markets only benefit the people with a lot of clans. Products are easier to buy because they came out with the idea of credit. This means we can buy products now even if we don't have the money, and we can pay it back later.
On to the next topic, folks. We've just gotten word that Al Capone, one of the most famous crime seizers and gin mills in Chicago, Illinois, has been violating the prohibition laws with illegal booze, gambling, and prostitution. We may all want giggle water, but we must all obey the laws. That's not all this man has done. He has been accused of killing many in the past, but there hasn't been enough evidence to prove him guilty. Recently, he has gone into hiding, and the police are looking for him. If anyone sees a nicely dressed, wealthy, stubborn man, please let your local police station know immediately. Now for a slightly less terrifying topic, sports. We are seeing them all across the board these days on radio stations, movies, billboards, just about everywhere. I just saw Babe Ruth, Gene Tooney, and Elizabeth Robinson Schwartz in the newspaper the other day. Babe Ruth is the face of baseball nowadays. Let me tell you, Gene Tooney is not a palooka. He's just the opposite, winning almost every fight. Elizabeth Robinson is a magnificent track star. She recently competed in the 100 meters and finished second to Helen Fickey. Some say that she might be the first female track and field athlete who will be allowed to compete in the Olympics. Atta girl! They are building those stadiums so fast. Make sure you buy your tickets to go see a game sometime. You won't regret it.
Next up, we're talking about fashion, music, and literature. This past decade has revolutionized the fashion industry. It brought about some unreal get-ups like the bobbed hair flapper look, as well as the cloche hat and many other styles. The chemise dress, for example, has become the go-to get-up for most women. This knee-high dress that dropped the waist to the hips has been popularized by celebrities such as Chanel, who sported it in black with a belt. This dress altered what we viewed as showing too much skin and put stocking sales through the roof. As for the men, athletic clothing and side-parted gelled hair has become hip to the jive. Suits also served a significant role these past few years, taking on a more simplistic look. Since the fellas weren't too keen on those bright-colored suits, they tended to stick with the more neutral and very swanky color palette. Children essentially wore little versions of what was popular for the adults. This was a big change to the old, very conservative, and very extravagant looks before this decade. No more prune pit fashion here. Also changing is the music. Music has become so much more peppy than it had been in previous years. Genres such as jazz and blues are increasingly popular. Dance bands and Broadway also trended. Broadway opened up a new world of possibilities for music and films, and it mainly consisted of jazz music. Before, music was more traditional or classical. People like Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington helped change that by popularizing jazz music. Music and fashion weren't the only things changing this decade. The literature world received a lot of recognition after authors like Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald began writing. One of the most notable books of his is The Great Gatsby. his writings, along with others' writing, conveyed the amazing change occurring in society. The music, the clothes, the trends, they were all described in these books. We are truly sitting pretty in this decade, folks. It's time for commercial break. Listen here, folks, I've got some news to tell you. You can now go to your local car dealership and purchase automobiles for a reasonable price. The Breezers will blow you away with their speed. You can get to work faster, go out with the family, or just have a nice ride whenever you want. Come on down and purchase your new automobile today.
Pick up your new phone today. The telephone will help you communicate with your loved ones who you don't get to see very often. Stay in touch. You could even talk about some chin music with your girlfriends over the phone. It's a great way to make new friends and keep the ones you have even closer. Get a telephone today.
That's it for today, folks. Make sure you tune in next week for more exciting news and stories.